Shocking truth, millionaire caught babysitter's secret at 3 a.m. You won't believe what happened. The clock on the mantel ticked loudly, its sound cutting through the silence of the lavish mansion. At the heart of this plush world, a secret pulsed like a hidden wound. Charlie Devlin, a self-made millionaire, had everything: fame, fortune, and a life others could only dream of. But one fateful night, a creeping dread drew him from sleep, compelling him to check on his children. He made his way through the opulent corridors, the air thick with a sense of impending doom. What he uncovered was beyond comprehension. There, in the dim glow of the nightlight, was Hannah the babysitter, a figure barely in her 20s, moving quietly with intent. The room was eerily still, but Charlie's heart pounded like a drum as he watched her slip out of his daughter's bedroom. He felt a knot tight in his chest, worry spiraling into disbelief. What was she doing? As he crept closer, shadows danced along the walls. His breath quickened. There was something off about the way she smiled at his sleeping daughter. It was too wide, too gleeful for a nighttime watch. A chill traced its way up his spine. This wasn't just a simple babysitting job, something dark flickered just beneath the surface of her geniality. Charlie's mind raced. Images flashed, whispers of the night he'd heard between Hannah and his wife, secret smiles exchanged, longing glances that left him feeling like an intruder in his own home. No, he couldn't allow his imagination to run wild, but this was different. This was deeply unsettling. Just then, Hannah turned, catching the glint of moonlight on her eyes. She didn't see Charlie at first, and in that moment, her expression shifted like a storm cloud. Was that a flash of embarrassment? Or was it something more sinister? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With adrenaline surging through him, Charlie's instincts kicked in. He couldn't confront her just yet. Not without proof. But what could he do? Distrust permeated the very air he breathed. He glanced at the top of the stairs leading down into the pitch black of the house below. The night loomed heavy with secrets. An unseen adversary lurked within his castle of dreams. A sudden noise sent his heart racing. A soft gasp echoed down the hall as if calling him closer. What had happened next? Did he have the courage to uncover the truth? With each silent step, he felt the weight of a dark mystery pressing down on him, both terrifying and intoxicating. It was just him and that babysitter. And the night was far from over. His heart thudded wildly, an unpredictable drum echoing the turmoil within him. With each stealthy footfall, fear wrapped tighter around Charlie like a coarse rope. He was closing in on the truth, or maybe just on his doom. The house, once a fortress of security, now felt like a maze of shadows with whispers lurking in every corner. All thoughts of safety dissolved into tension as curiosity battled with dread. What exactly was Hannah doing? The house was silent, except for that menacing tick of the clock, amplifying his pounding pulse. As he neared Sophia's room, his breath caught. He was paralyzed. A figure had materialized in the doorway. Hannah stood framed by the dark. The glow from the nightlight cast an ethereal halo around her, but her expression was anything but angelic. Her eyes darted down the hallway, scanning for any signs of intrusion, her lips curling into a slow, deliberate smile that sent chills down his spine. Then, she stepped back into the darkness of the room, her silhouette vanishing at the threshold. He hesitated, inching toward the door. What if he was wrong? What if she was, simply doing her job? But the grip of uncertainty strangled his rationale. There was a pulse in the air, a tension that tasted like fear and desperation. In his mind, thoughts collided like trains on a track. He recalled the night he confronted his wife about the late-night phone calls that had shadowed their marriage for months. "It's just work," she had assured him, but he could hear the hesitation in her voice. Before he could think twice, he pushed the door open slowly, quietly. The room lay cloaked in dim light. He barely breathed. His daughter slept soundly, oblivious to the storm brewing around her, yet Hannah was nowhere to be seen. Panic settled in his gut as he scanned the corners of the room. "Where is she?" he murmured, stepping further inside. Then, a soft murmur sounded from behind the wardrobe. His heart skipped a beat. Charlie's hands trembled as he reached for the door, muscles coiling tight. Pushing it open revealed nothing but shadows hanging heavily in the air. She wasn't there, but the whisper echoed louder in his mind. Was it a voice, or just the wind? The vibrant pulse of fear surged again, igniting Charlie's instincts. He turned and rushed into the hallway. As he turned corner after corner, he felt hunted, stalked by an unseen predator. He dashed down the winding staircase, adrenaline pumping. He needed to get to the bottom of this. The mansion was empty now, every room eerily quiet, but he could hear the soft thumping of his own heart echoing like a drumroll. Suddenly, another gasp, this one sharper, came from the kitchen. He rushed toward the sound, his heart crashing against his ribs. What was happening? As he reached for the handle, he felt a sharp voice ripple through him. "Charlie." It was a silken, melodic tone that sent a shiver down his spine. He froze. It was Hannah again, her voice wrapping around him like a vice. Was she waiting for him? "Come in, Charlie," she purred, the tension rolling off her words in waves. For a moment, he hesitated. It was a choice that held both danger and undeniable allure. Should he confront her? What kind of truth awaited him in the kitchen? That's when he felt it, a burning tension in the air, a web of secrets ready to be unraveled. What had she done to earn that sinister smile? The questions teetered on the precipice of catastrophe as the darkness thickened, cloaking him in uncertainty. One moved wrong, one breath out of place, and everything could change. Charlie pushed the door wide open, ready to plunge into the unknown, but the moment he stepped in, he knew he was in far deeper than he'd imagined. What awaited him there would shake the foundations of his world forever. The kitchen was drenched in shadows, the moonlight spilling through the window like spilled ink on parchment. Charlie stepped across the threshold, a mix of dread and a desperate need for answers driving him forward. His breath hitched as he took in the scene before him. Hannah stood near the counter, her back turned, fingers danced across something on the surface. The sight sent a lancing jolt through him. What was she doing? Was she preparing food at this hour, or was it something far more sinister? "Charlie," she sang again, her voice a silken lure, twisting his resolve. "You've come to join me. I was just tidying up." Tidying up? The words hung there, heavy and tainted with deception. He pushed away the chill crawling along his spine, inching closer. "What are you doing with Sophia? Why were you in her room?" The words tumbled out, sharper than he intended, cutting through the oppressive silence. A pause. He could hear a distant clock tick, each tick further igniting his anxiety. Her shoulders stiffened, but she didn't turn around, the smile remained in her voice. "Oh, darling. I was simply reading her a story before bed." A story? That made no sense. He could see the gentle rise and fall of his daughter's chest from the door to her room. She hadn't stirred. "That's not what you were doing." Hannah finally faced him, her eyes gleaming with an unsettling light. "You always misunderstand, Charlie. You see shadows where there are none." Behind her, on the counter, Charlie caught a glimpse of what she had been so fixated on. Papers. Letters, her fingers teasing the corners. He strained to make sense of them, and dread pooled at the base of his stomach. They were sealed envelopes, their thick paper glimmering under the faint light. "What's that?" he demanded, a fierce urgency rising. What are you hiding? She chuckled softly, a delicate sound that sent a shiver racing down his spine. Hiding? Oh, no, Charlie. I just thought you wouldn't want to know what you really don't want to know. His heart was a wild animal in his chest, clawing to escape. Please, you have to tell me. What is going on? In that moment, her demeanor shifted. The playful mask slipped, revealing bitterness etched across her features. You say you want the truth, but can you handle it? The question hung between them like a blade. With a nod, he steeled himself. Whatever it is, I need to hear it. But before she could answer, an unexpected sound shattered the tension, the creak of footsteps from upstairs. Both of them froze, eyes locked. It wasn't Sophia's small footsteps, it was too heavy for that. Someone else was in the house. What was that? He could hear the sharpness in his own voice now, cutting through the thickening air. Hannah's expression morphed into one of cold realization. Charlie, we need to leave. Now. Panic flared in his chest, mixing with anger. Leave? Why? Because, she whispered, eyes flaring, you're not the only one searching for the truth tonight. His mind raced. What truth? Who was up there? A shadow danced along the wall, dark and imposing, inching toward the stairs. His fight or flight instincts kicked in, but there was nowhere to run. What do we do? He hissed. Hannah didn't answer. Instead, she pulled out a small key from her pocket, holding it up like it meant something. Follow me. The air buzzed with uncertainty, and as the shadow above drew closer, Charlie realized this moment the decisions they made right now would alter everything. What kind of dark secret had they stumbled into? He grasped her arm, the urgency surging between them. Tell me now, Hannah. What did you do? Her eyes widened, shimmering with fear and an unspoken truth. And just like that, a primal anxiety washed over him. This was spiraling out of control. Then came the unmistakable sound of a door slamming shut above. What secrets lay behind that door? Hannah's grip tightened on the small key, her knuckles whitening. Charlie felt a surge of panic. The sound of the door slamming above sent vibrations through the entire house. Who was up there? Why did Hannah seem so different, so afraid? Where do we go? He whispered, barely able to keep the urgency from his voice. Her gaze flickered behind him, a brief expression of fear crossing her face before she forced a smile. Trust me, Charlie, this way. She turned toward the back door, the key glinting like a beacon in her nervous hand as she led him through the dim kitchen. He followed, heart pounding, the shadow on the stairs still looming in his mind. Each step felt heavier, as if the house itself conspired against them. The walls seemed to whisper secrets he could barely comprehend. What truth had he been running from, and how had Hannah become part of it? Outside, the cool night air hit him like a splash of cold water. They reached the backyard, and she shoved the key into a small garden shed door. Inside, she urged, her voice urgent yet muffled by the sound of rustling leaves and distant muffled noises echoing from the house. He hesitated, sensing an even greater danger in the shadows beyond the garden. What's in there? He shot back, really wanting her to just come clean. You need to tell me everything. Please. The plea was raw and desperate, her eyes wide and shimmering with a mix of fear and determination. We'll talk inside. But time is running out. Reluctantly, he nodded and followed her into the cramped space. The air was musty and thick with the scent of damp earth. Inside, the faint light from the single bulb overhead illuminated the cluttered shelves filled with gardening tools, pots, and weight boxes, stacked precariously in the corner. As Hannah pulled the door shut with a soft click, a hint of hope flared in his chest. Maybe they could find answers in here. Hannah, please. He said, anxiety creeping through him like ice water. What was the deal with Sophia? What do those letters mean? The letters, she whispered, stepping closer, they're connected to something bigger than us. To the truth about Sophia. Truth about her? What do you mean? A noise made them both freeze, a crash reverberating from within the house. Footsteps were returning, heavier this time. Panic invaded the moment, and Charlie's mind raced. "We have to hurry," Hannah said, urgency laced in her voice. "That's why I needed the key. Sophia isn't who you think she is." "What are you talking about?" A chilling silence settled over them as a shadow moved outside the shed. They both sensed it, the dread that curled around their throats like a vice. Sophia, she's connected to the letters. The revelation hung in the air, sharp and deadly. "What do you mean?" Before she could answer, the shed rocked with force. A heavy weight slammed against the door, splintering wood and raining down dust. Hannah. With horror painting her face, she scrambled for the boxes, as if the answers could be uncovered before whoever was out there could break through. "Get ready!" she shouted, her hands trembling, rifling through the papers littered on the ground. "We have to trust each other now." Then came the unmistakable sound of splintering wood. Would they hold their ground against whatever horrors awaited, or would secrets buried beneath the weight of promises destroyed come crashing down around them? "Charlie, you need to know the truth." Another crash. Time had run out. What lay beyond that door could change everything. Before Charlie could fully process the situation, Hannah's hands were already shifting through the boxes, her fingers prying open edges and flipping through papers, the sounds of splintering wood rising in pitch. Each crash against the shed door sent a jolt through him, sending shards of fear splintering into his gut. He glanced back at the door, a splintered crack widening like a yawning mouth, hungry for the reality that lay just outside. "Hannah, we can't stay here," he hissed, but the urgency of her mission held him in place. "Just a little longer," she cried, flipping a box over to spill its contents onto the floor. Envelopes, yellowed pages, and photographs scattered like confetti. Shadows danced in the flickering light, and he could almost imagine hostile figures lurking out there, waiting for the door to give in. "I'm not leaving without answers," he shouted, his voice rising with panic. "Who is Sophia to you?" Her eyes widened in desperation. She's connected to everything, Charlie. The letters, they're not just about her. They lead to something darker, something dangerous. With each passing second, his chest tightened. "Dangerous how?" Suddenly, the door shook violently as if someone had assumed the form of a battering ram, the wood creaking as if it might splinter entirely. Hannah's trembling fingers flipped through the papers faster now, and Charlie knelt beside her, fearfully scanning the fragments for anything that could help. "There." Hannah pointed at a photograph, the image barely illuminated under their confined light. It was a picture of a younger Sophia, her smile innocent yet haunting, surrounded by blurred figures. They might have been family, but something about the atmosphere seemed wrong, the way the shadows loomed, heavy and dark around them. This was taken at her family's estate, Hannah breathed, clutching the picture. It all started there. "We never knew." "What do you mean, we never knew?" His voice wavered, churning with confusion. "What did you find?" Another crash echoed through the shed. With each impact, Hannah dug deeper into the remaining papers, desperation rippling through her. "There are secrets, Charlie, secrets that could expose her family, something that they would do anything to protect." Anything. The word hung in the air like a sharp blade, weighing heavily on his conscience. Charlie turned back to the door, panic rising in his throat. "We need to go. They'll break in." Terror swept over her features as she exchanged glances with him. I can't leave without knowing. They can't take her away like they did before." "What do you mean, take her away?" Charlie shouted, his heart racing. The atmosphere closed in, filled with tension, as another violent strike hit the door. "I saw it," Hannah whispered, a chill settling over her, "when I found those letters. I thought it was just betrayal, but it was something much worse." Sophia's life, it's not what it seems. Before he could react, the door splintered wider, and Charlie lunged to prop himself against it, holding back whatever gruesome truth lay beyond. Hannah. Tears filled her eyes as she finally pulled a document from the stack, the last letter sealed with a crimson emblem. This could change everything, she urged. We have to leave now. But as he pushed against the door, the evidence of their broken reality threatened to erupt into chaos. Whoever that is out there, Charlie's voice dropped to a whisper. They know we're in here. He could feel an icy breath at their backs, the shadows merging together, ready to engulf them. And just like that, with one last fierce slam, the door yielded ever so slightly, forcing Charlie to look into the encroaching darkness. What if it's too late? The truth throbbed in his chest, weighing heavy against his heart, the knowledge closing in like a vice. Then we fight, Hannah declared, her gaze fierce now, ignited by a newly found determination. Is this the moment they uncover what lies at the heart of Sophia's secrets, or will darkness be their only companion? The door gave way just a fraction, but it was enough. Enough to let in the chilling air of uncertainty that slithered around them like an unseen predator. Charlie's heart raced as adrenaline coursed through his veins. The dimly lit room felt smaller now, the shadows growing bolder, stretching further into their space as if ready to consume them whole. Hannah, we can't wait any longer, he urged, the words slicing through the thick, tense atmosphere. The way her hands trembled as she held the document tight told him she was clinging desperately to something, anything that might save them both. I need to know, she replied, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and fierce determination. If we leave now, we might never find out. But Charlie's gut twisted deeper. This isn't just about knowing. They could be out there right now, and we'd be walking into a trap. A jagged splinter broke loose from the door, the wood creaking ominously under the strain. Each crash against their temporary barrier sent ripples of anxiety through him, a raw, pulsating reality that reminded him of what was at stake. Each slam punctuated his fear, echoing off metal shelves and the walls around them. Hannah ignored him, her eyes darting over the remaining papers scattered across the floor, searching for clues. Charlie risked another glance at the door, the cracks widening with every impact. Was it just his imagination, or did he hear whispers? Soft and sinister, echoing almost as if the shadows had come to life. Here it is, Hannah exclaimed suddenly, her voice breaking through the haze of panic. She held up a dusty ledger, the pages yellowed and worn. This could prove everything. Prove what? He snapped back, unable to contain his exasperation. What are we looking at? Proof, Hannah said, her eyes alight with a wild spark, that the estate Sophia's family is involved in something huge. Something that they'll kill to protect. Kill, the word echoed ominously in his mind. All he could think of was that door, the intruders beyond it, and how close they were to being lost forever. Let us get out of here, he cried out, shoving harder against the battered door. But the door shuddered, as if a breath had inhaled outside before preparing to unleash a wave of violence. The sound that followed felt like thunder as it cracked wide open. The flashlight flickered, and as darkness flooded in, shadows that had lurked just outside spilled into the shed, congealing into shapes Charlie hoped were nothing more than figments of his imagination. But the chilling aura around them felt real and malignant. Charlie. We have to move. But there was nowhere to go. He could see glimmers of movement. A figure. A flicker of something lethal in the shadows. Get behind me, he shouted, instinct taking over as he shoved the document and photograph into Hannah's hands. Don't let go of that. If they search us, we can't let them take this. The moment of distraction proved deadly when the door flung wide open, revealing the darkness beyond, people silhouetted in the night, their movements sinister, purposeful. Found you, a voice growled from the void. Before Charlie could react, the figures lunged into the shed, rushing towards them like a storm ready to break. Run, He screamed, and they both surged forward together, hearts pounding in rhythm against the chaos they left behind. After a moment's hesitation, their feet pounded against the ground as they headed into the night, colliding with the world outside, the weight of dread and desperation fueling their flight. But just as they thought they had escaped, Charlie glanced back, and panic flooded his senses. One shadow slipped into their midst, too close, too familiar. "Wait!" he yelled, realizing too late how intertwined their fates had truly become. What had he missed? The truth they thought they held might have been just the beginning. The moon hung high, a sickly silver orb that cast stark shadows across the ground as Charlie and Hannah raced down the narrow path beside the shed. Their breath came in ragged gasps, each footfall echoing the thundering pulse in his ears. But he didn't dare stop. Not now. "Hannah, where do we go?" Charlie panted, eyes darting around for any sign of safety. He sensed the pursuers were hot on their trail, the dark figures melding into the night like wolves following a frightened doe. "There's a cabin up ahead," she shouted, pointing toward a structure barely visible through the trees. "We can hide there." He nodded, urgency sharpening his resolve. They sprinted toward the cabin, heartbeats synchronizing with the crunch of twigs beneath their feet. Each step felt like it could be their last. The darkness seemed alive, almost mocking them as they moved. As they reached the weathered door, Charlie pushed it open with a heavy shove. The hinges creaked ominously, like a warning sign they ignored in their desperation. Inside, moonlight trickled through grime-covered windows, illuminating cobwebs that hung like curtains. It was empty, save for some old furniture draped in dust. "Over here," Hannah whispered, darting behind a dilapidated couch. They crouched low, hearts pounding against their chests, ears straining to listen for the approaching threat. His mind raced. The ledger. What kind of power were they up against? What had Sophia's family done that made them so deadly? He shot a sideways glance at Hannah, who stared wide-eyed at the tiny sliver of light leaking through the window. "We can't get caught," he urged. "We have to figure out what we have and how to use it." Hannah nodded, clutching the documents against her chest like a shield. "If we can get to a safe place, we might be able to contact someone suddenly." A loud crash shattered the tense silence. The back door to the cabin slammed open, splintering wood echoing through the darkness. Panic flooded Charlie's veins. "Stay quiet," he hissed, adrenaline pushing him forward as he grabbed her hand, pulling her deeper into the shadows. Voices started filtering in, low and menacing, like whispers carried by the wind. "They couldn't have gone far," one voice growled. "Search the place thoroughly, they have something we need." Charlie's fingers tightened around Hannah's, fearing they were out of time. He glanced around, desperate for a plan. The cabin had an attic. It would buy them some time. "They'll find us," Hannah whispered, her voice breaking with fear. "Not if we're smart about it," he replied. They slipped silently toward the staircase leading to the attic, every step echoing their growing dread. As they climbed, Charlie's thoughts raced. What if they didn't make it? What if this was the absolute end? But the memory of the ledger, of the truth it bore, urged him on. When they reached the attic, they shut the door softly, holding their breath as they listened. Silence, thick and heavy. The only sound was the rustling of leaves outside, and the staccato rhythm of their hearts, echoing in the quiet. Hannah finally exhaled, her body trembling slightly. "Do you think they're gone?" "I don't know," he admitted, fear gnawing at him. "But we can't stay here forever." Then, a low rumbling voice floated up from below, chilling Charlie to his core. "They're somewhere in this cabin. We need to find them before they expose everything." Charlie's breath caught. Expose everything? What could they possibly know? His mind raced as he pieced together fragments of memory, but there was too much that didn't fit. "Charlie," Hannah whispered, pulling him closer, "what if this isn't just about us? What if they're after something bigger?" He stared wide-eyed, realization hitting hard. Then we need to find a way to turn the tables and fast. Suddenly, the door creaked open, splintering their fleeting safety. The faint flicker of a flashlight beam danced through the cracks in the attic, revealing their desperate hiding place. It was no longer about survival, now it was about the fight for their lives. They had little time. Shadows gathered below, and the hunt was on. Would they stay hidden long enough to discover the dark truth lurking in the depths of their panic? "Get ready," Charlie whispered, determination kindling within him. "We might just have the chance to fight back." The beam of the flashlight sliced through the dust-laden air, illuminating the attic's forgotten corners. Shadows shifted and danced, alive with the dread that gripped Charlie and Hannah. Their hearts thudded loudly against the silence, a raw reminder of the danger closing in. "Stay quiet, don't move," Charlie whispered, crouching lower, praying their shallow breaths didn't give them away. The footsteps below echoed, heavy and determined, growing louder with each pass. "They'll find us." "They have to," Hannah murmured, terror creeping into her voice. He could feel her whole body tremble beside him. His mind raced. The ledger, Sophia's family, the secrets those men wanted to keep buried, it was all bigger than they realized. They couldn't afford to panic. They had to use this tense moment to their advantage. "Listen," he said, his voice a tight rasp. "If we can figure out what they want, maybe we can use it against them." Above them, the flashlight beam swung, casting fleeting shapes. Each flicker ignited his instincts, the urge to fight, to scream. But he held back. An idea sparked in his mind. He took a deep breath. "Hannah, stay still. I'm going to create a distraction. You need to find a way to get that ledger out of here." "But no buts. We don't have time. When I give you the signal, follow the stairs down and keep your head low. I'll lure them away." She opened her mouth but closed it just as fast, nodding as she clutched the documents tighter. The weight of their secret pressed against them like a blanket of dread. The footsteps stopped beneath them. "Check in the attic," a voice commanded, and Charlie's stomach dropped. They were moments away from discovery. His pulse roared in his ears. "Now!" Charlie hissed, certainty flooding him. He crouched and started making noise on the far side of the attic, kicking a box over the edge. Wood splintered and crashed to the floor below. "Hey! Up there!" One of the figures shouted, their voice booming through the cabin like thunder. Hannah darted for the stairwell, her frantic footsteps barely making a sound against the floorboards. Charlie held his breath, trusting she would make it to safety. He continued to make noise, thumping against the wooden beams, scattering dust in an attempt to draw their attention. Footsteps thundered up the stairs, and Charlie's heart pounded like a drum in his chest. He was running out of time. He felt their presence before he saw them, a collective air of danger and determination cloaked in darkness. come out, wherever you are." One laughed, chilling Charlie to his core. Adrenaline surged as Charlie leaped towards a window at the far end, sending a chair crashing into it, the sound shattering the night. "Over here!" he yelled, forcing his voice to carry through the dim space. He knew he was risking everything, but he had to create a path, a moment. It was now or never. The shadowy figures surged up the attic staircase, their flashlights piercing the murky gloom. Charlie could see their faces twisting into sinister smiles, the predatory glint in their eyes sending a jolt of fear through him. He slashed swiftly towards the window, a wild escape clinging to his mind. Behind him, the voice yelled, "Grab him!" He dived through the frame, ignoring the sting of glass ripping through his skin. A tumble led him crashing into the bushes below, landing with a thud that rattled his bones. Pain coursed through him, but he fought through, scrambling to his feet. "Charlie!" Hannah's voice called, faint and frantic. "Here!" He gasped, forcing himself into the sparse cover of darkness. He could still hear the men shouting in fury above him. But the fight wasn't over. Not by a long shot. You okay? He managed to call, peering back inside the cabin. She started, her voice barely a whisper. Before she could finish, a loud crash echoed from inside, followed by the unmistakable sound of heavy footsteps rushing down the stairs. One of the figures yelled, "They went outside. Cut them off. Let us go," he shouted, grabbing her hand, urgency igniting their flight once more. They dashed through the trees, branches whipping against them like angry spirits, the cold chill of night air filling their lungs. They had to escape, to find answers. But where could they go that was truly safe? "Charlie, what do we do now?" Hannah panted, urgency shadowed by a flicker of hope. He locked eyes with her, an idea igniting like fire in his chest. "We need to find the ledger. It could hold the key to everything and it might give us power over them." As they sprinted into the unknown, the men's anger echoed behind them, a haunting reminder of the danger. This was just the beginning. They were running toward a truth that might shatter everything they thought they knew. Could they uncover it before it was too late? Would the ledger reveal the secrets that could turn the tide in their favor? "Stay close," he urged as they vanished into the darkness, ready for the fight ahead. They pushed through the underbrush, branches clawing at their clothes, each snap echoing like gunshots in the night. Charlie felt a jolt of fear hit him every time they heard a voice behind them shout through the trees. "Where are you?" The men growled. The voices were angry-hungry. "We can't stop," Charlie grunted, pulling Hannah deeper into the forest, his heart thundering like a drum in his chest. "If we stop, we're done for. We need to find a place to hide." Hannah's breathing was jagged, like shards of glass in her throat. "They're getting closer," she gasped, her voice shaking. "What if they catch us?" "Trust me," he urged, glancing back, scanning the shadows that danced in the faint moonlight. "Just hang on a little longer." They moved swiftly, but they had no destination. The weight of the ledger felt heavier with every step, a ticking time bomb of secrets and truths just waiting to be unleashed. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were being hunted, like prey in a deadly game. "Charlie." Hannah stopped, panting, her eyes wide with panic. "What do we do if we get caught?" I can't go back." His mind raced. "We can't think like that. We need to stay focused." But as if the night was listening, a sudden crack behind them made them both freeze. Charlie looked back, heart pumping wildly. A figure darted between the trees, emerging like a ghost. "Run!" he shouted. Fear clawed at his throat as he seized her hand, pulling her along. They tore through the woods, dodging trees and summer vines that twisted around their ankles like serpents. The darkness enveloped them as they stumbled, almost falling into a hidden ravine that yawned beneath the overgrown brush. "My God!" Hannah cried out, her eyes wide with terror. "Where are we? What if we fall?" "Just watch your step," Charlie barked, pressing forward. They needed to get away, but the path ahead felt alive, a maze that shifted as they ran, trapping them in thickening shadows. More footsteps followed, heavier this time, muffled but unmistakable. They were gaining. "Look!" Hannah pointed to a bent tree, its great trunk offering a dark hollow below its massive roots. "We can hide in there." "Are you sure?" He hesitated, glancing back to see the faint puddles of flashlight beams advancing, searching for their escape. "Do we have a choice?" She shouted back, urgency cracking her voice that he nodded, and they dove under the gnarled roots, curling up against the damp earth as they fought to quiet their breaths. The world outside seemed deafening, harsh whispers flowed through the stalks, and branches rustled like shifting spectators. Charlie held his breath, straining to listen as the footsteps ceased, replaced by a low voice, gravelly and relentless. Where the hell did they go? He could barely breathe. The tension crackled in the air, the weight of their choices pressing down like an anvil. Would they be discovered? Check the perimeter, another voice commanded. They can't have gone far. Time felt suspended, fear pricking at their skin as Charlie exchanged a glance with Hannah. Her eyes were wide with terror, glistening in the dark. They were on the edge. This was it. The figures moved closer, flashlights flicking in and out of the shadows, illuminating everything around them, everything but where they hid. Just then, the distant sound of a car engine rumbled through the woods, slicing the stillness like a knife, drawing the men's attention. "Go check that sound," one of them barked. Charlie squeezed Hannah's arm, hope flooding back to him. "Maybe they'll leave. Maybe we can escape in the confusion." "I don't know," she whispered, voice trembling. "We have to take the risk," he replied fiercely. "When they move, we go." As the footsteps faded toward the sound of the car, adrenaline surged within him. This was their chance. But as they prepared to sneak away, something deep in his gut told him that their fight was just beginning. They might escape tonight, but the darkness they were racing from would not let them go so easily. "Stay ready," he warned, sharp intensity hardening his voice. "This isn't over yet." With the thrill of uncertainty surging through his veins, Charlie pulled Hannah close, every muscle in his body tense, waiting for the moment to slip back into the fray. Time felt fragile, suspended in a delicate balance between hope and despair. The sound of the car engine rumbled like distant thunder, and Charlie held his breath, waiting for fate to guide them through the night. He could feel the racing pulse of his heart echoing in the stillness, each beat a reminder of the urgency to act. The last echo of footsteps faded into the trees. He grabbed Hannah's hand, their fingers interlocking in silent promise. "Now," he whispered, urgency igniting their shared fear. They edged out from the tangled roots, slipping into the cool embrace of the night. The shadows danced around them, but they stayed low and moved fast, carving their path through the darkness. The cabin stood abandoned behind them, a forgotten relic that held more truths than they had imagined. As they dashed past clumps of underbrush, cautionary feelings whipped through Charlie. The dangers of what lay ahead mingled with the thrill of escape. "We have to get to the road," Hannah urged, glancing back, "before they realize we're gone." He nodded, adrenaline sharpening his focus. "Just keep moving." The trees thinned out, revealing a narrow dirt road, barely lit by the moonlight struggling to break through the clouds. Charlie felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. They could intercept someone else on the road. Maybe they could call for help. But even as the notion of safety filled his mind, a dark thought clawed at him from the corners. What if the shadows were already closing in? They rushed to the side of the road, caution painted across their faces. The night air was cool, and they listened intently, hearts pounding like war drums. Suddenly, headlights pierced the darkness, illuminating the path ahead. "Get ready," he whispered. As a car approached, they stepped from the shadows, waving their arms frantically. Their hearts raced. Would the driver stop? Would they turn away in fear? The car swerved, its brakes screeching, screaming to a halt before them. The driver's window rolled down, revealing a woman, eyes wide with surprise. Who are you? Please. We need help. Charlie shouted, desperation thick in the air. They're after us. We can explain everything. The woman squinted into the darkness behind them, and panic flickered across her face. Get in, she exclaimed, the urgency in her voice clear. They jumped into the back seat, their breaths coming in rapid bursts as the woman sped away from the shadows that now faded behind them. Relief flooded Charlie's veins, yet the weight of uncertainty pressed heavily in the cramped space. We'll explain everything once we're safe, he promised Hannah, squeezing her hand, anchoring them both in this moment of fleeting security. As they sped down the road, he played the scenes out in his mind, the ledger, Sophia's family, hidden truths. He glimpsed Hannah's worried expression in the rearview mirror. Where are we going? She asked, voice trembling. Who is she? I don't know, he admitted, but he could feel that spark of hope reigniting in his chest. But we'll figure it out together. They reached a small gas station, neon lights buzzing like static in the night. The driver pulled in without hesitation, scanning the area. "Out!" she commanded. They scrambled from the car, nervous energy rippling through. "Listen," the woman rushed, "if what you say is true, you're in serious danger. You need to hide." "Thank you," Charlie said, breathless and grateful. "But we have to find the ledger. It has everything. It might protect us." "What ledger?" The woman pressed, eyes narrowing. That he took a deep breath, summoning strength from deep within. "Sophia's family is involved in something sinister. We need that evidence to expose them." The woman's mask softened as she realized the gravity of their situation. "If that's the case, we have to act quickly. Follow me." As they trekked into the dim interior, Charlie and Hannah absorbed each detail, realizing they were no longer just two scared individuals. They were tangled in a web of current and looming dangers. The secrets whispered in the air created a sense of unity, a whispered fight against the tide of insanity that had threatened to drown them. "I don't know who to trust," Hannah exclaimed. "Trust is earned, but for now, it's about survival," the woman replied firmly. "I've seen enough darkness in this world to know how to find the truth." They huddled together, hearts strumming an anxious tune. If they were going to confront the shadows of Sophia's past, they needed to expose the truth that linked them all. Together. As they navigated the twists and turns of their complicated fate, Charlie resolved, "You only fight back from the depths of your fear when you realize that survival is not a choice, it's a duty." Hannah looked at him with wild determination. The journey ahead was uncertain, but they would face it together. "Let us go find out the truth," he declared, their hearts locking in unity, "and shine a light into the darkness that threatens us all." The world was calling for transparency. They were ready to meet it. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support, so smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. And don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Tell us what you think is next for Charlie and Hannah. Lastly, share this video out. Don't wait even one more second. Share it with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. True fans know how important this is.